Somebody lost an earring. It's up here on the pulpit later if you need one. So this sermon series, we've been working on The Work of Christmas, that poem by Howard Thurman. He's an African-American author, poet, prophet. And he wrote about the works of Christmas that begin once the celebration is over. And the shepherds are back in the fields and the decorations are down. And we've been laying out his 7 phrases on the work of Christmas, one for each Sunday. We're on the 7th week, so we're on the 7th phrase. And we've had 6 banners to help us get through that, to find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoners, rebuild the nation, bring peace among the people, and make music in the heart. Woo-woo! So here we are at the last one, and we're going to Psalm 119 to help us with this one. Now, there's something really special about Psalm 119, and I think we're going to have a special slide, I hope. Sherry looked at it the other day and deleted it, and I told her, I need that back. She goes, it was a bunch of gibberish. I said, it's not gibberish, it's Hebrew. But I hope it's in there. I don't know if it is. Y'all see if there's an extra slide in there. Yes, there it is. That is Psalm 119, 33 to 40 in Hebrew. Now, the cool thing about Psalm 119 is it's the longest book of the Bible, and it's an alphabetic acrostic. So y'all know what alphabetic means, right? It uses all the letters in the alphabet. And acrostic means it's kind of this poem thing where each zone of this poem or song begins with the same letter of the Hebrew alphabet. And there are 22 letters in the ancient Hebrew alphabet, and there were 8 lines per verse, so 8 times 22 is 176. There we go. Y'all are getting there faster. So this is the He section. Right? There's a whole section on Aleph, and a whole section on Beit, and a whole section on Gimel, and a whole section on Dalet. We get to the He. And you see that first symbol? It's way over here to the right. If you were reading it this way, all the symbols were different. That's not the way you read Hebrew. You read it this way. And that first symbol is the same all the way down. Thank you. Yes, yes, yes. That weird-looking 7 with a thing under it. Right? And there's some other little dots and underlines, but that wasn't really there in the original. Just the He was. And what I wanted y'all to know is that this psalm was written poetically and musically. Right? It was written so that when the Hebrew speakers and hearers heard it, they heard the rhythm of the He at the beginning of every line. And it had a music to it as they read it. We then mangle it and translate it into English, and that rhythm is gone. But when they first heard it, that repetitive sound made it musical to them. And the length of it, and starting with a different letter of the alphabet all the way through, had a completeness to it. And it travels through the valleys of despair and danger and worry, and to the mountaintops of joy and celebration as you go through this psalm. The rhythm of it and the completeness of it was a sign to them. It's going to be okay, like Miss Jill told us. So let's hear this psalm in English, and to the best of your ability, let's hear it with a rhythm, a cadence. Lord, teach me the way of your statutes, and I will follow it to the end. Help me understand so I can obey your commandment and honor it with all my heart. Lead me on the path of your commandments, because that is what brings me joy. Tune my heart to your laws, not to my own selfish gain. Turn my eyes away from looking at worthless things. Give me life on your path. Confirm your promise to your servant, the promise that is for all those who honor you. Remove the insults that I dread, because your rules are good. See how I long for your guidelines. Give me life in your righteousness. This is the word of the Lord. So music and I have been dating for quite a while now. When my father died, my mom signed me up for piano lessons. I never really thought about that. But I looked back on it and I thought, that's after Dad died. That's when she sent me up the hill to that lady who taught me piano for a few years. And I did that all the way to 5th grade. And then we moved And there was no piano teacher in that new community, so she gave me my sister's husband's cornet and shoved me into the middle school band for a while. And so I made terrible noises through a piece of brass for 2 years. Then we moved again to Florida, and I was a late registrar to school, so I got stuck in the club called choir. And I stayed in it for 5 years. Right. And then as I was going to college, it was either going to be Sanford, where Carrie Neal is, and I was going to go sing in their traveling a cappella choir as a bass, or Mercer for engineering school. And I thought, one pays, the other doesn't. I think I'll do the other. So I went to engineering school, and music fell by the side for a while. But then I had a fraternity brother, Nick Bowden, who was an organ major. He was the principal organist at Peachtree Presbyterian, and he happened to be, when we were in college together, the organist music director at Mabel White Baptist Church. And so I became his hired voice for the Mabel White Baptist Church choir in the bass section. And Jill and I have sung in choirs at most of the churches we've attended from after college until seminary. In seminary, that first birthday came around, that next year, and Jill gave me a guitar for my birthday. I didn't know how to play guitar, but it's like one of the coolest presents I've ever gotten. And me and a bunch of other seminary students started meeting Wednesday nights in the chapel, this gorgeous old wooden chapel, and we'd bring whatever instrument we had and whatever tab sheet we had, and over the next 2 years, I learned to play guitar by trying to keep up with people who already knew how. And not long after that, three of the guys that were in that group got together and bought me that mandolin as a gift for putting together that Picking and Grinning group. They said, this has been so much fun for 2 years. We wanted to say thank you for helping us make this happen. And so they got me the mandolin, and I've been learning basic chords on that. And a few Father's Days ago, I bought myself that cajon, that Buckstrom. See what I mean, how music and I have been dating for a while? There's something I just realized this week as I was studying and preparing for today. Make music in the heart. To make music, tension is required. And I hadn't really thought about it, but like the piano, right? Inside the piano, there are all these strings, and they are stretched tight, and there's windings over here. And you stretch it really tight, not to the breaking point, but so that when you push a key, right, a hammer strikes the string, and the string in tension then vibrates because of that hammer strike. And that is what creates the sound. Right? And with my guitar, it's almost the same thing. The strings are wound tight between here and here, and if you strum one of them, it makes a sound only because there's tension, but if I was to remove the tension, I get nothing. Only when the tension is there is there a note. And then I thought, is that only for stringed instruments, or does that apply in other places as well? Well, in the cornet, when I blew the mouthpiece, the tension was created by my lips, and when my lips weren't strong enough, they couldn't create the vibrations that would travel down the brass. Or a drum. The top of a drum is stretched tight, so when you strike it with a mallet or a stick, it creates the vibrations, which creates the music. Dallas helped me out this week. I told him, I'm kind of losing the top and the bottom range. And he goes, oh, it's a balance thing. It's a tension thing. It's the under pressure and the over pressure. So he gave me this little swizzle stick, and I'm supposed to sing and hum through it like a kazoo or something. But he said the balance of the tension between the pressure above and the pressure below will help tune your vocal cords, and you'll be able to control them better. Poor Caleb is knowing exactly what I'm going through right now. He's probably had that stick shoved into his mouth at voice lessons. Right? So I'm realizing, wow, the tension is there for all of these things. And in order to make music, tension is required. Now, those who are really good at making music don't appear to be under tension. They just do it so beautifully and gracefully and artistically. But if we think about it, they have to be in tension in order to create that music. They have to be able to hold that tension and control it, and to let it be what it is, but then to use it so it creates the sound that they wish to make. In every instrument and in every musician, there is an inherent tension. And without it, we couldn't make music at all. The verses we were reading from Psalm 119 kind of express a lot of those tensions. There's a natural tension between a teacher and a student. A teacher has something and they want the student to have it too, but the teacher doesn't get it. They don't see it. They don't know. They don't want to work at it. And a bunch of teachers in here are going, oh, get out of my head. And the teacher wants them to have it, and the student might or might not want to have it. Maybe they can, or maybe they can, or maybe they're almost seeing it, but they're not there. And the teacher's trying to figure out how to be patient and how to communicate it in a better way. And the student's going through. And the tension between the teacher and the student is what makes teaching so fun and important and awesome. And if there was never anything to learn or to teach, there'd be no tension. Leader and the follower are kind of the same. The leader has a vision and is trying to move us to some direction, and we as followers, we're back behind, kind of wandering off where we want to go, but there's this tension between the leader and us, pulling on us like the two ends of a string, and if we start to wander too far, that string gets tight. But the leader uses it to pull on us and to make music so that we hear it and feel it and follow along. And some people go, forget it, cut the string, and they wander their own way. The tension's over. But now nobody's leading anywhere. People are just going wherever they want. The psalmist even talks about tension of decisions. The tension of the joy of doing what is right and the joy of doing what ain't right. The tension between doing what others need and doing what I want. The psalmist talked about that too. And says, tune my heart to your commands, God, so that we can make music from these tensions of life. And after begging God to teach and lead and guide and expressing, I'm going to say her desire, the psalmist's desire to follow and learn, the psalmist admits, even if I do follow you, there's this other tension. I'm going to follow you, and people are going to insult me for it. They're going to come at me or say things and insult me for following you. And just remind me when those insults come, because I'm following you, remind me that your laws are true and good, and their definition of what is right or good, and my definition of what is right or good, they're always going to be at tension with your definition of what is right or good, but I want to follow you. That's what the psalmist is singing to us. That's the music of the psalmist's heart here. Now, over the last 6 weeks, as we've been doing these things, I've sensed in us a desire to release the tension. I don't know if that makes sense to y'all, but if you weren't here over the last 6 weeks, I'm going to try to remind us and recap it. When we talked about finding the lost or feeding the hungry, there was some conversations in and among us about us being the lost ones, about us being hungry too. Meaning sometimes we feel lost. We feel spiritually lost. We feel alone. Or sometimes our souls hunger for hope or for truth or for relationship. Yes, sure, yes. And there are also people in our community, in our world, who are really, really lost. And who don't have lunch today. Hungry like that. And if we truly wish to make music, we can't release the tension of those two things. Yeah, we're hungry. Yeah, we're kind of lost. But there are people out there that are really, really lost, or maybe in here. And there are people out there that are really, really hungry, or maybe in here. And those two things are true, and they create a tension. When we talked about healing the broken or releasing the prisoner, we could feel some of our own brokenness, and we could begin to confess there are some things that hold us prisoner. Yes, I'm sure. We cannot make music if we try to release the tension by looking only at our brokenness or our emotional or mental prisons or whatever, but ignoring in our community and in our state and our nation, there's a lot of brokenness. There's a huge percentage of people in prison As of October 2013, the incarceration rate in the United States of America was the highest in the world. Y'all knew that, right? Over 700 persons in prison for every 100,000 persons in the population. 4 of the states with the highest rates in our country are, anybody want to guess? Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana. All with 1,200 or more persons incarcerated in prison per 100,000 residents. That's almost double the national average, which is already the highest number of any nation on our planet. The United States is about 4.5% of the people in the world, but houses 22% of the world's prisoners. I understand these truths create tensions. And we want to hear that word prisoner and spiritualize it. Fine. Those things that keep us prison, our addictions, or our what? Yes, those are prisons, and there are real prisoners too. And if we ignore one truth or the other, if we kind of cut the tension between those, we can't make music. Especially over the last 2 weeks. We've been talking about rebuild the nations or bring peace among the people. And I've sensed in us this whispering desire to take care of our nation first. Let's not talk about the other nations just yet. Or to have peace in my own heart and spirit first. I can't really pay attention to the lack of peace that other people have. And it almost sounds like good advice, the old flight attendant advice. Should the masks fall from overhead, make sure to put the mask on yourself first and then help the others around you. But making music requires tension. If we attempt to release the tension by saying, no, I'm not going to worry about the other nations. I'm only going to worry about mine. No, I'm not going to worry about the other people who don't have peace. I'm just going to worry about peace in my own heart. We cut the string on the guitar, and now it can't make music anymore. Tension is necessary to make music. There's a tension between our hungers and people all around us who will go hungry today. There is a tension between seeing our own brokenness and our own prisons and seeing the brokenness of others and how many others live behind bars today. There's a tension between seeking calm and quiet and peace in our own hearts, shoot, in our own Facebook feeds, and seeing calm and quiet and peace for every people on every corner of the planet, many of whom today run from war or racism or gender discrimination or violence or oppression. I get it. To talk about things like this creates tension. Joel, we came to church. Why are you doing all this tension stuff? Shouldn't church be about removing the tension and helping us feel better? Yes. I want you to be able to come here as a family and be so honest with one another that the burdens and the prisons and the hungers, the brokennesses, the lack of peace that each and every one of us has as we come together into this house is addressed honestly and authentically with the good news of the gospel. But it's not enough to stop there. If we stop there, we make no music at all. The other end of the string, we come here to worship, but we go from here to, y'all told me what we used to say, to be the church. So the tension is between coming here to have our brokenness healed and our hungers fed and our prisons opened wide, and the things where we don't have peace, to have peace in them. But the other end of the string is where the rest of the world doesn't have it yet. Where the rest of the world is hungry, where our community is broken, where the people around us need rebuilding and need peace. And if we forget that, if we cut that string, there is no music to be made. Those who are really good at making music, they hold this tension beautifully. They use it and they create sounds that express something that words all by themselves can't. They even make it look easy, effortless, graceful. And underneath every musician and every instrument is in inherent tension. And without that tension, we couldn't even make music. So may you come here and find your strings not cut, but getting tuned. May you come here and for each one of your strings, whether it's a lost or a broken or a hunger or a prison or something that needs to be rebuilt or something that needs peace. I got 6 strings on my guitar and we got 6 ways to tune our strings. But don't cut them from the world. Let them stay attached to those same lostnesses and hungers and brokennesses and prisons and rebuilding nations and people who want peace. Let them stay attached to the rest of God's good creation. And maybe when God strums us, we'll be a wonderful chord to God's heart. To God be all the glory and honor, now and forevermore.